detectives, and welcome to my first video for April, which is all about writing diaries. Now, this is partly because I know a lot of you will be thinking about writing diaries at the moment. I'm not somebody who normally keeps a diary, but I have been writing one for the past 3 weeks, and I suspect that a lot of people are the same. The other reason is because my friend Candy Gourlay has started a project called Our Corona Diaries, where she's trying to get as many people as possible to record what is going on in their own homes and in their own heads during this time. So I wanted to help out by doing a video about how you can write a diary and about how writing a diary is very different from writing a story. Now, the first thing I want to say about writing a diary is that it's a great thing to do if you are currently struggling to write fiction, because it is comparatively very easy. You are just writing down all the things that you're seeing, all the things that are happening to you, that are happening in your day. So you're not working to invent anything, but you are working to put words down on the page, to string sentences together. And so what I say about practicing writing is the more you do it, the better you'll be. And that holds true with diaries. The more you write, the better you'll get at just physically writing, and that is an important and good thing. So if at the moment you're struggling to write fiction, writing a diary is a great way to put words on the page every day and keep exercising that writing muscle. The next thing that's really important to say about writing a diary is that you are not writing a story. Now, this might seem like a bit of a strange, counterintuitive thing to say, but it is very important. When you write a story, when you make up fiction, you are trying to give it a story arc. You're trying to have your characters learn something. You're trying to have the story go somewhere. You're trying to inject plot into what's happening. And of course, that is not what's happening when you write a diary. When you look back on it years later, you might see a story in the pages that you never realized was being told until it was over. But day to day, you are not telling an exciting narrative story. There are no twists and turns. You are literally writing down your day. So I think it's much better to think of a diary as sort of the notes for a story, as just you recording what is happening. That way you free yourself up from the worry of being interesting, because that is not what a diary is about, and you just note down what is happening. And I think that is the most important thing to do when you are writing a diary. And I have been thinking about the diary that I have been writing as sort of case notes for something that I might write in the future, some story that I might write. And I'm approaching my diary, and here is my diary that I've been writing in every day. I've been approaching this like I am taking notes for a story. Now, here is my notebook for Murder Most Unladylike Book 9. And in here I've made notes of some of the other books that I've read, some of the plot ideas, but I've also made notes of the time that I went to Egypt. And when I was there, I recorded everything that was happening. And this is a page that I recorded when I woke up really early to sit on the deck of the ship on the Nile and watch the sunrise. And what I'm writing down here is things like how warm it is, how cool it is, what I can hear, what I can see, what I can smell. And I'm doing it really detailed, making sure I take lots of notes. And so what I did when I got back to England was I looked at this, and then I used these pages, which are just literally notes, the most boring thing possible. And I used this to influence the story of Daisy and Hazel discovering a murder on the Nile very early in the morning. And I think that's what you can do with your diaries. Think of them not as you telling a story, but you are making notes. Record things like, what have you eaten today? How do you feel? Are you sad? Are you frightened? Are you calm? Is something funny? What do people say? What do you hear when you're walking around or when you don't leave the house? How does that feel? What's the weather like? Really boring, basic things like this are very important, because those are the building blocks of the future story that you might write. But at the moment, of course, you are just noting down what you see every day. As I say, when you're writing your diary, you should be noting down things that happen to you, things that happen to other people around you. Don't worry so much about noting down the big global things that are happening, because partly that can feel overwhelming, but also because other people are noting that down. There will be lots of records of what was happening to the world and to the country you live in at this time, but what there won't be a record of is how it felt to you, how it felt to you and your family, what your friends thought of it, how you coped in tiny little ways. So those are my tips on how to write a diary. Do not worry if it's really short, you only write a few lines every day. Do not worry if it seems boring and pedantic. That is the point of a diary. Do not worry about filling it with lots of big important things that are happening in the world. Trust that it is important because it is happening to you, and just focus in on how you are feeling and your own perceptions of what is happening right now. Because, as I've said before, these are extraordinary times to be living in. Every year, every day is extraordinary, really, but these are particularly extraordinary and historical events, and they're strange and they're confusing and they're sometimes frightening. And I think it's a good thing to note down how you're feeling, to pay attention for yourself, but also for your future self, to remember what it was really like to be right now. So those are my tips for diary writing. Those are some things that have helped me, and I hope will help you too. But as always, if you don't agree with those tips, if you don't think they're relevant to you, that is fine. You don't have to use them. That is the wonderful thing about writing. It is totally, totally subjective. I am going to end with just one recommendation of a book that I particularly love that is a fictionalized diary, and that is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. Now, as I say, of course, this is fiction, this is made up, but it is supposed to be the diary of a teenage girl, Cassandra Mortmain, who is living in a castle with her very eccentric family, and then two very mysterious and exciting young men turn up at the house next door. It is fabulous, it is totally made up, but Dodie Smith, the author, manages to make Cassandra's life feel so real. There are so many vivid, wonderful details about what it is like to be Cassandra. And I think it might be a good thing to read if you want to know how to turn your very real diary into a made-up story, because all of the wonderful, vivid details in this are the details you can be collecting right now as you make your diary entries every day. I would say that this book is for about 12, 14 plus. It's more YA, definitely not a children's book. I think I read it for the first time when I was about 13, and I have loved it ever since. It is one of the most beautiful, warm, lovely books that I can imagine. So that's all from me this time. I'll be back very soon, I'm sure, with more videos for you. If you would like to do some creative writing, you can go onto my website, robin-stevens.co.uk, and check out my weekly writing prompts. The first two are up there now. I'll be putting up the third on Monday morning, and they go up every single Monday at about 9 o'clock. I hope you're all doing okay. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying calm and happy. I am thinking about you all. I think you're all wonderful.